Hello, my rubber hearts. Today we are diving into a measurement that shows up on almost every carbon black data sheet, yet many people never really see what's happening behind the number. We are talking about STSA, Statistical Thickness Surface Area, and by the end of this episode, I want you to not only know what the number is, but actually understand how the experiment works and what the results really means for rubber. Now, many of you already know the BET surface area test. That's the classic method that measures surface area using nitrogen adsorption. STSA is not a different experiment. The laboratory setup is actually the same. What changes is how we interpret the data that comes out of that experiment. So let's start in the lab and imagine the test happening step by step. A carefully dried carbon black sample is placed inside an adsorption analyzer. The sample is cooled, usually to liquid nitrogen temperature, around minus 196 degrees Celsius. At that temperature, nitrogen gas behaves very predictably, which is exactly what we want for accurate measurements. The nitrogen gas is introduced in controlled pressure steps. At very low pressure, only a small number of nitrogen molecules adsorb onto the carbon surface. As the pressure increases, more molecules attach, and the instrument records exactly how much gas is being taken up by the sample. When you plot the amount of nitrogen adsorbed versus the pressure, you get what's called an adsorption isotherm. That curve is essentially a fingerprint showing how the surface interacts with nitrogen gas. Now here is where the physics become really interesting. Adsorption does not occur equally on every part of the surface. Very tiny pores, called micropores, actually fill first. The reason is that the attractive forces inside these tiny spaces are very strong. A nitrogen molecule inside a narrow pore feels attraction from multiple pore walls at the same time, so it gets pulled into that space even at extremely low pressure. Larger open surfaces behave differently. There, nitrogen molecules gradually cover the surface, forming what we call a monolayer, essentially a single layer of molecules sitting on the surface. As pressure continues to increase, additional layers of nitrogen can build on top of that first layer. The instrument records all of the adsorption behavior. The question is how we interpret it. The BET method analyzes the portion of the isotherm where a theoretical monolayer of nitrogen is assumed to form across all accessible surfaces. From the amount of nitrogen required to build that monolayer, the calculation estimates the total surface area nitrogen can reach. And that phrase is important. Everything nitrogen can reach. Nitrogen molecules are extremely small, so they can enter micropores and rough internal spaces that other materials may never access. BET therefore counts not only the external surfaces of the carbon black aggregates, but also surface area inside the micropores. STSA approaches the exact same data from a different angle. Instead of using the BET equation alone, STSA applied what is known as a T-plot analysis. The T in the T-plot stands for statistical thickness. In simple terms, it represents the calculated thickness of the nitrogen films that form on a surface as pressure increases. Here is the key idea. If the carbon surface had no micropores at all, a plot of adsorbed volume versus this calculated film thickness would form a straight line that passes through the origin. The nitrogen film would simply grow thicker layer by layer on the external surface. But real carbon blacks contain micropores. Because those pores fill very early in the experiment, the adsorption curve deviates from that ideal behavior. When we construct the T-plot, the linear portion of the curve corresponds primarily to adsorption occurring on external surface of the aggregates. The intercept of that line is essentially the mathematical fingerprint of micropore filling. By separating the linear region from the early micropore contribution, the method estimates how much surface area belongs mainly to the external aggregate surface. That corrected surface area is what we call STSA. So if you want a simple way to think about it, BET measures almost everything nitrogen can physically access, while STSA tries to represent mostly the outer surface of the carbon black aggregates. And that difference matters in rubber. Reinforcement depends largely on how much filler surface polymer chains can interact with. Polymer chains cannot enter extremely small micropores. They are simply too large. Nitrogen molecules can go there, but rubber chains cannot. So if a carbon black has significant microporosity, BET may report a surface area that looks higher than the surface the polymer actually experiences. The STSA reduces that distortion by subtracting most of the micropore contribution. For many furnace carbon blacks, especially medium and high surface grades used in tire compounds, STSA correlates very well with reinforcement, modulus, and dynamic properties. For lower surface area blacks, the difference between BET and STSA is often small. Those grades usually have limited microporosity, so both methods end up giving similar numbers. Now let's pause for a moment and answer a question people sometimes ask. Why don't we use CTAB surface area for carbon black in the same way we do for silica? CTAB uses a large surfactant molecule in liquid phase to estimate accessible surface area. That method works very well for precipitated silica because silica has a network of mesopores and strong surface chemistry that interacts with the surfactant. Carbon black is structurally different. Its structure consists of fused primary particles forming aggregates rather than a network of internal mesopores like silica. It can contain some microporosity and surface roughness, but not the same mesopore system typical of precipitated silica. Because of that, the carbon black industry standardized around nitrogen adsorption methods. BET and STSA provide a more consistent way to characterize surface area without introducing additional chemistry-dependent interactions. And before we wrap it up, let's talk briefly about recovered carbon black because this is where the interpretation can get tricky. During pyrolysis of waste tires, the carbon black structure can change. Additional micropores may form as volatile components are removed and the structure rearranges. Nitrogen can enter those new pores, which can inflate the BET surface area. STSA can help reduce that inflation by subtracting part of the micropore contribution, but interpretation becomes more complicated. Recovered carbon black often contains ash, inorganic residues, and altered surface chemistry. Those factors can influence adsorption behavior and make the separation between micropore and the external surface area less ideal. So, when evaluating recovered carbon black, STSA is still useful, but it should be interpreted alongside other measurements like ash content, DBP absorption, dispersion behavior, and mechanical testing. So here is the key idea I want you to remember today. STSA is not a different experiment from BET. It is a different interpretation of the same nitrogen adsorption data. BET counts essentially everything nitrogen can reach. STSA uses statistical thickness analysis to subtract most of the micropore contribution and emphasize the external aggregate surface. For many furnace carbon blacks, that external surface is the part more closely related to reinforcement in rubber. And once you understand how the number is created, STSA stops being a mysterious acronym on a datasheet and becomes exactly what it's supposed to be, a measurement designed to estimate the surface that actually interacts with rubber. Until next time, stay elastic and stay curious.